I'm Ray Suarez. I'm your Master of Ceremonies for tonight. And I host a program called World Affairs, which exists in part because of the generous support of the Aspen Institute. So, thank you. And it's great to be here. And it was great to be invited by Mickey to be your Master of Ceremonies for this evening. We'll begin tonight's program with Dan Porterfield, the President and CEO of the Aspen Institute.
Thank you so much, Ray. It's absolutely awesome to be here. And we're here for a lot of good reasons, but the biggest one is Mickey. I want to start... Well, if I was smart, I would just sit down right now. But let me start by thanking all of those who prepared this meal, who served this meal, who set this room up, who planned this conference. Kat, thank you so much. With Kat and Brianna and Beth, who's come back to serve, we have an awesome staff that's done a great job. Thank you so much. We have David Langstaff, moderator extraordinaire, our executive vice president, who's here. I think in the room is Warwick Sabin, who we recruited to come and work for the Aspen Institute. I don't know if Warwick, if you were here today, he was here earlier, I think. And I also would like to thank our generous funders and supporters who are here. That includes, I think, Jean from the Hewlett Foundation is here. Yeah, there we go. Thanks. And then I could be missing any other funder except for this one big funder, which is Bill and Don Buttinger, Zoe Baird Buttinger. Thank you so much. This is the most awesome speech. I'm so happy to be doing this. Thank you. So, of course, a huge thank you from the Aspen Institute to all of you, because public service is what citizenship is all about. Whether you serve elected or you serve as a volunteer or appointed, whether you serve because you lead a company, or you serve because you're a professor, or because you're a teacher, or because you're a parent, or because you vote, public service is what this place is about. And this program epitomizes it and shows the honor in it and the importance in it. And for the Aspen Institute, which has a lot of programs, you really stand out. Thank you so, so much. Thank you so much. So another big thank you, this guy right here, Trey Grayson. Trey, thank you for taking the mantle. Thank you so much. Nancy, thank you so much. I think that we have recruited a true public servant, a true leader, a true patriot, a true thinker, mentor, friend, and I can't wait to partner with you to help usher in the next chapter of this incredible program's history. And thank you so much, Trey. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say just a word about Mickey. There's going to be better words coming, so I don't want to try to compete with that. But to get to Mickey, I need to take a step back and say a word about the Aspen Institute. It was founded 70 years ago. It was a big bang. These industrialists from Chicago and academics from the University of Chicago came together in a sleepy little town called Aspen, Colorado, surrounded by natural beauty. And it was after World War II. and they were thinking about the wreckage that we had seen around the world, and they were wondering, what role do we have as leaders, as academics, as private sector leaders and business leaders? What is to be done? We won the war, but what would stop it from happening again? And their belief coming together was that they should work tirelessly to create and sustain a free, just, and equitable society. That is what our founding core mission is to do, to create that kind of society, knowing that those words mean different things at different times, and that there are different challenges that emerge in the course of history that cause us to interpret in new ways how to live our mission. What's the action we do in support of those values? And we started off 70 years ago with this idea: let's convene people together around a table to talk about the core ideas of a democracy, which include a free private sector, open elections, a free press, and the commitment to values in public life. And it was a group of business leaders largely that drove that conversation. And that was our big bang. And then over 70 years, this place has gotten bigger and bigger. The trace elements, though, from the Big Bang are still there, and they live in this program and many other programs. And today, now, we're not only working as we did at the beginning by getting people around a table, but we're always doing that. But we're also really working to make practical differences at many different local levels. Almost every one of you comes from a place where the Aspen Institute is involved in one way or another. Perhaps it's supporting community college presidents through our College Excellence Program to increase graduation rates and track students into family-supporting jobs. Or perhaps it's our Ascend program, which works with red, blue, and purple states on family-centered strategies to preventing poverty. Or perhaps it's our Community Solutions program, which works to empower opportunity youth all around the country. We work with way more than 70 different places, helping communities get out of work, out of school, young people into opportunity lanes. And that's because the Aspen Institute is living this value in ever new ways, both to promote a free, just, and equitable society, and also, I know this is somewhat counterintuitive, but to really try to empower local communities to make local differences. There are networks that are part of the Aspen Institute that are touching all of our communities, and we have to do a better job weaving the networks together so that you that are working in public life, or you that have left public life and are working in some other way to serve the common good, can connect to the Aspen work in your communities. That's the next chapter of our history, is to connect to you still better and to learn from what you're doing in ways that can help us help our partners on the ground in all these different communities in ways we're working. And with Trey's leadership and with my partnership and with support from these incredible trustees like Bill, we're going to grow even more our relationship with you so that you can feel ever more proud that the work you've done in helping to build the Rodel program's culture and values and tradition is being played out in other work of the Institute in addition to the work you do yourself. That's our commitment to you, and I want to thank you so much. And why do I say that? Because he is the one that's making it possible for me to say that. Because he's the one that created first a program and then a culture. And that culture is about the life you all live and supporting values-based community organizing that leads to R&D and I working together to support our families, our communities, our institutions, our way of life. And he's the one that did that. And there's a few people in the firmament of Aspen Institute. 70 years ago, it was Walter and Elizabeth Pepke, and it was Herbert Bayer who designed the Aspen campus. And then later, it was Walter Isaacson and Madeleine Albright. And Mickey Edwards, you're in that firmament. You're one of the creators of the Aspen Institute as it continues to grow. You did that. And I'm so proud to be able to call you a colleague, and I'm going to leave with a quote. It's one of my favorites, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Great institutions are the lengthening shadow of remarkable individuals." And for this country, our democracy, and this Aspen Institute, you are one of those remarkable individuals. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
As I've been given to understand it, the general rule in the fellowship has been, from the opening dinner on, you have to do all the talking, while Mickey gets to just sit off to the side and listen. Tonight, we're putting him on the spot and asking him to talk. Most of us here have known Mickey Edwards for a long time, and basically what we know is he was a congressman, then he became a teacher, then he came to the Aspen Institute and created this program. And that's pretty much what I've known about him too, but for this role tonight, I asked his staff to tell me a little bit more, and it's quite a story. It's really an American story. His grandparents came over to this country as Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe. One of his grandfathers was a rag peddler, or as we say in Spanish, he sold schmatas. For those of you just knitting your brows, that's a Yiddish joke, and you may not follow, but that's okay. He sold clothes from a cart he pushed through the streets in Cleveland. His other grandfather had a job sorting scrap metal. Mickey's father grew up in an orphanage. During World War II, he sold shoes during the day and worked in a steel mill at night. When Mickey went to college, maybe like a lot of people in this room, he was the first person in his entire extended family to get a college education. He got a journalism degree and worked as a reporter during the day and got a law degree at night. This is what he's done since then. He served in Congress for 16 years. It's worth noting that he was elected as a Republican in a district that had not elected a Republican for half a century, in a district with a 3-to-1 Democratic registration advantage. So creating a bipartisan fellowship here, well, it wasn't the first time he had pulled off that trick. He was elected to a senior leadership position, chairing his party's policy committee. After Congress, he was called by the dean of the Kennedy School at Harvard and invited to come teach for a year and a half. The year and a half stretched to 11 years. He was voted the most outstanding teacher in the school, received a new named lectureship, then moved on to join the faculty at Princeton. In the meantime, he was a regular weekly columnist, in his spare time, for the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Boston Herald, and other newspapers, and had his own weekly political commentary program on NPR's All Things Considered. And as someone who's in that game for a living, any one of those things would be much sought after. All of them would be novel. He succeeded George Will as the recipient of the Constitution Project's Constitutional Champion Award. He's chaired task forces for the Brookings Institution and the Council on Foreign Relations, written 5 books, 3 of them while running this program, and has been elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. And that, I assure you, is just a brief summary. So Mickey, well, it's your turn to talk.
Wow. Thank you. You keep doing that, I won't be able to do this. Thank you. That is to keep me from talking, right? Oh, thank you. I love all of you. Well, first I want to recognize a few people. I do have something prepared, so I'm not totally surprised. I was, asked to say something. First, I've gotten a lot of credit. A lot of people here have talked about the fact that I created this program and grew it. But this program came out of Bill Bunninger's head. This was, it was your brain that created this, and we owe you for that. And Bill and his brother Don, who are the Rodell Foundation, have been our principal supporters for 15 years, and they are going to continue funding it and supporting it, Trey, with you here. So I didn't know Dan was going to say that stuff, so I want to say something about Dan. When Dan took over, then I guess addressed to Bill, you may be the only board member here. You could not have made a more brilliant decision. What Dan Porterfield has brought to the Aspen Institute in terms of more collaboration, more integration, more really making a difference across, using Rodell Fellows for other kinds of programs in the Institute, has just been amazing. You have been quite a find. We have gotten enormous support from the Hewlett Foundation. And Gene Bordewick, thank you so much from all of the people here. Everybody here knows I didn't make all this stuff happen. So, Kat and Beth, where's Beth? Beth and Bree, Kat, Beth, and Brianna, all this unfolded because of you. We have all these seminars. I show up, there's food, everybody has a room. I don't know how that happens. I just get there, and it works. Trey, stand up a minute. I want to show something. We are keeping our tradition of having only very tall leaders in this program. Trey is going to do a terrific job. I'm really proud to have you do this. One other person I want to mention. Maybe the smartest person I know or have ever known. She's a government professor at American University. She's courageous. She has the biggest heart of anybody I've ever known. My Lizzie. So I have to say one other little story about it. Ken Edelman, you all know Ken. Ken calls her the firecracker. Those who know her know why. She's a firecracker. And so I really have always stressed bipartisanship, but I want to give you the best example ever of what exemplifies bipartisanship. Lizzie and I were both speaking at a conference in Boulder, Colorado. And Don knows this story. He was speaking in Colorado contingent here, and we were speaking. And anybody who knows Boulder, left-wing paradise, and we were we were speaking to this group, and it was and I was probably the only Republican in 100 miles, and so Lizzie stopped and she looked at them and she said, "If I can sleep with a Republican, you can talk to one." Anyway, sorry. She didn't know I was going to say that. Well, okay, seriously, I'm really thrilled to be, again, part of celebrating what all of you together have created. I didn't create this, you did. And this fellowship has provided me with an amazing opportunity to manage a program that because of you, every one of you individually and all of you together, give me a tremendous confidence in our common American future. I really love being able to share these years with you and to feel hope because of you. So I have to admit that personally for me, this is a sense of loss, even though I'm excited about going on. I'm going, actually, the upward trajectory everybody wants is you go one thing to the next. Not me. I can't do it. So I am going full circle. I was teaching at Princeton when Walter Isaacson called, and Bill and Walter asked me to come here to the Institute, and now I'm going back to Princeton. So I have gained no ground in 15 years. But I've spent these 15 years being really immersed every day in watching the rise of a wonderful new generation of American leadership. And for those people who get depressed, who worry about our future, if they see you, they know that the future is going to be in good hands. So there are people, we have people in the room who are not Rodel Fellows, and there are people who, when they learn of this program for the first time, and then they see it here tonight, are going to marvel because they look out at you and they see Republicans and Democrats sitting together as friends, as more than friends, as brothers and sisters in the formation of a new America. This will look exceedingly strange to them. It does not seem strange to me because I don't see Republicans and Democrats. I don't. I see Americans. So, talk about the challenge of our time. Every period of history, we have a challenge. And the challenge in our time is to rebuild a belief in ourselves as a single people. A people who are diverse in histories, experiences, race, religion, diverse in our analysis of problems and challenges and how we would address them, but bound by a common commitment to two different but harmonious propositions. Liberal democracy, a society in which the people come first, in which it's the people who choose their leaders and to whom those leaders are accountable. And at the same time, a governing constitutional framework that protects speech, ensures that justice is blind, protects dissent, and prevents majorities from trampling the rights of the minority. Those are principles that lie outside and above the realm of political party. We're a diverse country, celebrating our diversity, renowned for our status not only as a welcoming beacon, but as a summoning magnet. The place where people from all over the world can start over, like my parents and grandparents and yours, start over, build a new life, enjoy new freedoms, free from dictators, kings, czars, free from the bondage of class distinction. Our symbol is not the Republican elephant or the Democratic donkey. It's the Statue of Liberty, the Freedom Bell, and the words, "We the people." So I love you all, but I love this country. So reclaiming that sense not of otherness, but of togetherness will require us to master some important concepts. That the law is important, but that justice is more important. When a black woman named Rosa Parks got on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, and sat in seats that were reserved for whites, she broke the law. But justice was on her side. In Les Miserables, I love Victor Hugo, I will say. In Les Miserables, when Valjean stole a loaf of bread, Jean Valjean stole a loaf of bread so his sister's children would have food to eat, he broke the law. But it was Javert, the personification of the state, who was the villain, because no mercy tempered his rigidity. The contrast in that story that really mattered was not the one between Javert and Valjean, as powerful as it was. But if you remember the story, I don't know if you've read that book, big book, as often as I have, but the story with which Victor Hugo begins that book, when Valjean, hardened by his years in prison, steals a silver candlestick from a bishop who has given him shelter, and instead of turning Valjean over to the police, the bishop forgives him, gives him another candlestick that he forgot to take, urges him to use this second chance to change his life. And he created a hero by doing that. And that's our obligation, to forgive, give people a chance to create a new life. So I think of all the readings that we have covered together. Virginia Woolf, Hungry for a Room of Her Own, the equal opportunity that came with it. Ursula Le Guin, challenging us to think through how to respond to unforgivable injustice. King and Douglas, Locke and Hobbes, choosing, as Orwell did, between responding to conscience or the expectations of others. Creating a good society is not an easy task, and the choices are not as clear as we would want them to be, but they must be wrestled with. They must be confronted. The good news is that we're a free country governed by its people. And the bad news is that such a country requires a people willing and able to meet that challenge. So Lizzie and I were talking this week about Louis Pasteur's conclusion near the end of his life that he had been wrong all along, that it wasn't the germ that was the problem, it was the terrain in which it took root. If life is in fact, for some, a nasty, brutish, and short life, if Hobbes was right about that, then the terrain is going to provide fertile soil for anger, desperation, blaming, and a retreat to tribalism. Our challenge is not philosophy. It's not political philosophy. It's farming. It's agronomy. It's changing the terrain, fixing the soil of American democracy. So each of us has a niche in this world. We're the children of parents, the parents of children, workers, citizens. These are our identities. We also have our behaviors and our commitments, our kindnesses or our cruelty, our generosity or our parsimony, our aptitude or ineptitude. Those are our reputations. One day, each of us who's here today will exist only in the memories of others, and then in the opinions of those who did not know us at all. We will not be known by the identity or our job or a skill or connection, not by our reputations as being cheerful or curmudgeonly. What will remain is our legacy. What did we leave behind? That's why, for those of you who wonder, that's why we spend so much time reading Ozymandias. What will remain is our legacy. Ramses II was a pharaoh. That was his identity. He was a great builder of monuments, and his empire was a marvel for all to behold. And he was cold, and he was cruel, and that was his reputation. In the end, the great statue he had built to honor himself lay in ruins surrounded by the desert sands. That was his legacy. David Brooks has called this the distinction between reputation and eulogy. Every day, we see those who, in pursuit of a more impressive title or a momentary advantage, make decisions that will shape their legacies in ways they would not have wished. And we should be mindful of that. Everyone in this room has an inner compass that from time to time lights a fire of unquenchable zeal to right a wrong, blaze a trail, make a change, or prevent a change. We are transformed into Don Quixote. And I honor your passion. But to be meaningful, passion must be balanced by dispassion. We must become poker players, football coaches, battlefield commanders, not just pursue strategies that make us feel righteous, but those that will allow us to win the victory that we seek. Passion without dispassion is a recipe for disappointment and failure. Anger without reflection is a road to a dead end. Don Quixote tilted at windmills. Gandhi tilted at the British Empire and brought it to a heel. A word about certitude in the world we live in. Families, friendships, and nations can be torn apart by too much certitude. It's always helpful to have a sense of the right thing to do. It's also helpful to understand that we might be wrong. Families, friendships, and democracies depend on deliberation. Certitude destroys deliberation. That's why we come into our seminars pledging, and you tell me this on the phone when I talk to you the first time, pledging to leave behind the temptation to teach and to open ourselves instead to the possibility of learning. Listening, learning. Confidence is essential, but excessive certitude is destructive. Humility is a worthwhile trait. In my synagogue, we would talk about Micah 6:8. What does the Lord require of thee but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God? And I thought, there's a value in walking humbly with our fellow human beings, too. These are times of trouble, but we've been through times of trouble before, and no difficulty has proven more powerful than the ability of a free people to right the ship. We are blessed with a free press, and we will protect it. We have free and independent courts, and we will protect them. We have neighbors whose skin may look different from ours, whose accents may be different from ours, whose religions may be different from ours, whose political beliefs are different. But we are more than the pluribus. We are the unum. We are the single family of Americans. And no matter what the challenges, we will prevail. We will mix our righteous passion with the deliberative calm of dispassion to set our goals and make them reality. Our founders gave us a roadmap, but it is we who must now drive the country forward. We will overcome our problems because that is who we are. We're Americans. We overcome. So I'm going to put in my little pet horse today, my little pony horsey you hear all the time. We read together as a group George Washington's farewell address with his praise of our commonality and his fear of our division and his warnings against the creation of political parties. These are his words. I have already intimated to you the danger of parties in the state. Let me now warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful spirit of party generally. I'm saying this with the chairman of the Democratic Party sitting there. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge natural to party dissension, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result from parties gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual. and sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction turns this disposition to the purposes of its own elevation on the ruins of public liberty. The common, I'm still reading from Washington, but I'm almost done. The common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of party are sufficient to make it the interest and duty of a wise people to discourage and restrain it. It agitates the community. It kindles the animosity of one part against another. It opens the door to foreign influence and corruption, which finds a facilitated access to the government itself through the channels of party passions. In governments purely elective, it is a spirit not to be encouraged, a fire to be quenched. It demands a uniform vigilance to prevent its bursting into flame, lest instead of warming us, it should consume us. So to those who would divide us and subdivide us and divide us again into ever smaller subsets of subsets, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can honor that which makes us distinct and also honor that which makes us one. So if our guests will forgive me for speaking now just to the fellows who formed this special fellowship. I selected you, but you educated me. I sat through 40 deeply moving seminars, more than 150 days, thousands of hours of intelligent, probing discussions by you about the greatest issues of politics, culture, and society, marked by the absence of partisan tribalism. And I learned from you far more than you learned from us. One never knows. I'm going to end with this. I've been blessed. 16 years, member of Congress, a dozen years teaching at the finest universities, and except for my Lizzie, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was getting to be one of you. So, thank you. One more sentence. I want one more sentence. I just want to say one more word, one more sentence, because it matters. It matters a lot. On the day I was sworn into Congress, my mother grew up poor, daughter of immigrants. My mother said she was very proud of me, but, and I'll never forget the but, says, but who are we to have a congressman in our family? But this is America. So, Marty, where are you? As Marty Linsky has so often reminded us, it's not about being called a leader. It's about exercising leadership. And in America, we can all do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. And thank you, Lizzie, for taking one for the team. You can always tell who's paying attention when you say things like that. We'll continue the program with Don and Bill Buttinger.
You know, Mickey, of politicians give a lot of speeches, but I've never heard one that comes close to that. That was fantastic. For those of you who haven't met him, I'd like to introduce my brother Don. And the company that actually made this possible, Rodell, was one that Don and I ran for 30 years. And without this guy, we wouldn't be here. I am so touched. I'm going to be short, but I thought you might like to hear a little bit about how this phenomenon called Mickey came to be in this program. I won't talk about I joined the Aspen Institute 18 years ago, something like that, and right away discovered something called the Henry Crown Program, which put young leaders through a series of seminars, and I thought it was incredible. And I did that, and I figured it would be wonderful if our political leaders could go through here. So I had met this fellow called Cory Booker, and I nominated Cory to be a Henry Crown Fellow. The nomination was rejected. I said, Keith, who ran the program, what? How come? He said, we only take one politician each class, and we've already got one. I said, come on, Keith. Well, eventually it worked, and Cory got in the program. But it caused me to think, wouldn't it be nice to have a program like this for political leaders? In fact, it could even be skewed a little bit for their particular concerns and interests. So Walter Isaacson, who headed the Institute, then agreed, and he said, let me go out and pick some candidates to be leaders. He finally narrowed it down to 3. 2 of them looked really promising, but one guy was clearly much too partisan. He was a Republican, which is actually kind of what we wanted for the program. But this guy not only was in the Republican leadership, he was a founder of the Heritage Foundation. But, this is never going to work. But, okay, Walter, I'll interview all 3 of them. I know what I'll do. I'll interview this guy at the headquarters for the Democratic Leadership, the DLC. He'll never show up. Well, doggone it, if he didn't run the gauntlet, and he showed up, and we started to chat, and what should have been a half-an-hour chat turned into a couple of hours and was the beginning of a love affair that has just gotten better. Mickey, thank you.
Well, if you want to have a definition of a tough act to close, wow. Let me just add a couple things quickly, if I could. Bill and I are blessed. We were born in America. Thank you. Not a decision we made, but my heavens, what a change that was to our lives and most of yours. And we were also blessed to be born and raised in a small town in Illinois, north of Chicago. And we were introduced very strongly by our parents to what I would say are the classic American Midwest values. Hard work. You had to finish your work before you could play. You had to get a great education. And you had to give back more to the community than you took out. You had to produce more in your life than you consumed. And you had to leave the country better off than it was given to us. And we got nightly lectures from our father, who was in World War II as a fighter pilot trainer in Japan, on how great this country was after World War II. Our parents paid a top tax rate of 94% to fund the war and the Marshall Plan. Think of that. Talk about sacrifice. And these were people who were also in the war at that time. So we had this incredible respect for this country and what it is and what it does. And frankly, when Bill and I finished building the company and selling it, and taking a significant part of the proceeds to set up the 3 Rodel Foundations, we were candidly worried. We were worried about the future of this country. And we set out to do something about that. This program is unique. This program is the answer. This program will bring our elected leadership community together. If you all took your very best friend and brought them this afternoon to that presentation by those 6 women, could you tell which ones were the Democrats and the Republicans? You couldn't. If you turn on Fox News or CNN, within 4 seconds, you know exactly where the person stands. What you have done in this program, what Mickey has built, is truly a lifesaver. We need you to go forward. We need you to represent us. We need you to create a new way. We need you to elevate the caliber of the public policy debate when you run for office. And we need you to exercise what you have learned when you are elected to be the statespeople that you are. We need you. Thank you. Go forward. Make us proud.
I just want to say one thing in closing. Mickey has, as we all know, an incredible intellect and an incredible portfolio of talents. But I'm convinced that his very best talent is his ability to ferret out and recruit the finest political leaders in the country, and that is you guys. You guys are really terrific. And Mickey, thanks for picking such a superb group.
They're so fantastic.
There are people here from previous classes who've come a long way to be here tonight, and we appreciate them being here. There are a lot of Rodel Fellows who could not be with us tonight, but wanted to make sure that their farewells and their thanks to Mickey had been recorded. So, through the miracle of video technology, they get to say their 2 cents as well. Let's take a look at the video.
Should we fear our jobs are going away? With a microchip, teach my class someday. Without our work, will we feel well? I think I'll ask my friends at Rodel. Here's the chorus, everyone can sing along. I'm high on liberty, I dig on Aung San Suu Kyi. When the Greek dudes start to fail, I got a letter from the Birmingham jail. Mickey Edwards is a superstar in my favorite seminar. With the partisan lines we cross, we'll run for mayor of Omalas. How can we fuel democracy and build our laws inclusively? Where can we talk but never yell with the fellows and the gals of Rodel? I'm high on liberty, I dig on Aung San Suu Kyi. When the Greek dudes start to fail, got a letter from the Birmingham jail. Mickey Edwards is a superstar in my favorite seminar. With all the partisan lines we cross, we'll run for mayor of Omalas. With all the partisan lines we cross, we'll run for mayor of Omalas.
Mickey, greetings from the City of Angels to an angel, somebody who has had an impact on our democracy at a moment when we need it most, and someone who quite literally made my life better. You've enriched me as a public servant, in turn made Los Angeles and this second biggest city in America part of a strengthened democracy. And you know what you did most of all is you made me an idealist again. We couldn't have done that if we didn't see the possibility of humanizing each other in a dehumanizing moment, in finding connection at moment of division. And I'm so grateful for what you have done in my life, what you have done for the life of the people I represent, and I hope you know what you have done for our nation. Rodell will not be the same without you. We love you so much. We have our Democratic Convention in California right now, so I'm so heartbroken I'm not with you. But I look forward to celebrating with a retired Mickey Edwards next time you're out here in LA. Here's to your future, here's to America's future, and thank you for what you've done for both.
Hi, I'm Stacey Abrams. While I'm deeply sorry I can't be with you to celebrate Aspen Rodell Fellowship, I want to make certain that Mickey Edwards knows how deeply I care for him. From my first day in 2013 as a member of the Aspen Rodell class, I got to meet people from across the aisle and around the country. Together we studied Aristotle, argued over issues, and built friendships that continue to last. I get to celebrate my friends' successes and their triumphs by knowing that together we are building a stronger America. And Mickey, we have you to thank for it. Thank you for your leadership, thank you for your persistence, and congratulations on your retirement. Take care.
Hey Rodell and Mickey, Steve Bullock here. The only thing that could keep me away from this gathering is my daughter's playing in state volleyball championships. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Look, I think right now we need Rodell and all of you more than ever. The idea of being able to actually listen to perspectives different than ours, but respecting those perspectives is desperately, desperately needed. I've celebrated the victories of my fellow Rodell classmates. I've mourned their setbacks, and I continue to this day to be inspired by them. But Mickey, I really can't imagine what my Rodell experience would have been or what it'll be like for the future without you. I gotta be honest, I entered into that program with a little bit of skepticism just because of my disdain for the Reagan Revolution. But I've been learned from you. I've been inspired by you, the way that you've guided me and so many others. The mark that you've left on public policy and indeed our nation is a mark that will forever, in the generations I hope to come, have that impact. So Mickey, thanks for all that you did for me personally, for all the other folks that have gone through Rodell, and for our country. And I hope you know that the program will be different without you. And I also hope you know that I love you, Mickey.
Hello to my fellow Rodellians, this is George P. Bush. Sorry I can't join you this weekend as duties require me to be here in Austin, Texas. I want to thank my friend and my mentor, Mickey Edwards, for his leadership, for his advice over the years, and I consider him a true leader in terms of restoring civility in American politics. Mickey, I think I speak on behalf of the rest of our fellows in saying that you are an incredible role model by which we need to establish public leadership in our great country to restore its promise and hopefully restore some of its prosperity and its ideas and its rich histories. So Mickey, I want to thank you for all that you do. I want to thank your entire team. This has been the most impactful and the most insightful experience that I've had in my public service. So I thank you. May God bless you all. May God bless our great country.
Hi, I'm U.S. Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, and it's my pleasure to congratulate our dear friend and former Congressman Mickey Edwards on many years of successful leadership with the Aspen Institute Rodell Fellowships and Public Leadership Program. The Rodell Fellowships built a remarkable community of public leaders. They helped develop our insight and build friendships, challenged us, and sustained us in our public service careers. Mickey, it's been my great pleasure to work with you over the years, and I am so grateful for your support of strong public leadership and the need for bipartisanship. Your service and your support for the Rodel Fellowships and public leadership has made a great and real difference, and I know how much you'll be missed as you move into the next phase of your life. From your time in Congress to your work at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government and your leadership of the Aspen Rodel program, you have been an invaluable leader and a mentor to so many of us. Thank you again, Mickey, and congratulations on your retirement.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda Edwards and I'm running for the United States Senate from the state of Texas, which is why I cannot be there with you this weekend. But I want to congratulate Mickey on such a successful and incredible journey of leadership, of inspiration, of thought process. It has been such a pleasure of mine to be a part of Rodel, and I cannot thank you enough, not only just for picking me and not because we're cousins, I'm just kidding, but also because of the work that you've done to inspire thought leadership, to inspire change, and to inspire us to be better and do better. I really have appreciated your leadership, your guidance, your thoughts, and most importantly, the example. You have done a tremendous job with your service over time, and I appreciate not only your works as an elected official, but also someone who has invested in the future leadership of this nation. Thanks again, and congratulations to you. We bid you well in your retirement and hope to continue to catch up soon. Thanks.
Hey, Mickey. No, you're not seeing double. It's Rob and Bob, Washington State Attorney General, former Washington State Attorney General, here to tell you how special you are to us and how much we appreciate the experience that you and Bill Budinger and everyone at Rodel gave to both of us as Rodel Fellows. We deeply, deeply appreciate it.
And Mickey, we're really sorry we can't be there in person to really honor you and your many years of service. Rob and I have agreed, though, that what we're going to do instead is assign each other readings and from past Rodel meetings and meet for coffee and discuss those, in addition to debating which of your books was really the most interesting book. So we're going to do that as well. But in all seriousness, I'll never forget you calling me up and saying I'd been selected for this fellowship. And I remember asking you, well, how did you even hear about me? Who nominated me? And you said, Rob McKenna. And for those watching this who may not know, he and I are of different political parties, and that really set the tone early for what you really tried to instill for all the folks in the program.
Absolutely. It was a life-changing experience for me, as you and I have discussed, Mickey. And look, the program wouldn't be what it is without you and your extraordinary leadership. So thank you very, very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the line.
Congratulations.
Hey, Mickey. Congratulations on your retirement, but I can't believe it. You have been extraordinary in your creation and leadership of the Rodel Fellowship. It really has been, in my professional career, one of the most helpful and enjoyable experiences I've had. You brought us together from around the country. You have always had the ability to know that love of country means fighting for the best of who we are and seeing beyond party affiliation to get the job done. And you've brought us together. I've met lifelong friends because of the Rodel Fellowship. But Mickey, you're somebody who, it doesn't end then. You stay in touch. You are always a cheerleader. You are always encouraging us to be the best we can be. And so I thank you for that. And congratulations on all of the success. You have touched so many of us in such a significant way. And thank you for being just an incredible American. See you soon, I hope.
Hey, Mickey, I just want to say thank you for being such an amazing leader. You've brought us together year after year and created this whole class of people out there in the world who learned how to better work together and to try to do good for those we serve. I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I just want you to know how much you've meant to me and so many of us. And every day we're going to try to honor you by making good on all that you shared and brought us. All the best, Mickey, and I know we'll stay in touch.
Hi, Mickey. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Husted. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Ohio, and I met Mickey in 2005 when I was Speaker of the Ohio House. And as Mickey knows, the experience there really inspired us in Ohio to do some things that were more bipartisan in nature, including bipartisan sponsorship of legislation and a constitutional amendment to change the way that we drew legislative and congressional districts. Mickey, thank you for your dedicated service to all of us, all of the 320 Rodel graduates. We're grateful for what you did for us. Hopefully we are carrying the inspiration that you and the program have inspired us to do in our daily work, and hopefully all of us will be mentors and coaches to carry your work and your message long into the future. Mickey, thank you so much for caring about all of us and being our friends, and we wish you great success. Thanks for your service.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry I can't join you this weekend, but I wanted to publicly thank Mickey for picking me to be part of the 2009 class. Growing up, I took a lot of accounting classes and very few public political science classes, and so this was really an opportunity for me to understand the Constitution, our founding fathers, why our government is set up the way it is. And as the 34th state treasurer, most importantly, I think it taught me to not be so partisan, that we should agree to disagree, but more importantly, to find common ground so that we can move this country forward in a more positive, humane, global way. And so I want to thank Aspen Rodel Fellowship for this opportunity, and to Mickey and his leadership and enthusiasm for making sure that we are all successful in whatever we do in life. Thank you, Mickey. I look forward to keeping in touch with you and hear about your next adventures.
Hey, Mickey, I know how many people you helped as a politician in the House of Representatives, as a professor, as an author. But just think about the impact that you've had leading the Aspen Rodel program. You have touched hundreds of elected officials across the country of both parties, who in turn have taken what they have learned from you and from each other to improve the lives of millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people across our country. It's hard to imagine anybody could have a bigger impact than that. I am so grateful, I know all of us are so grateful for all that you have put into each of us, into the program, into making us better. Not so much into making us better politicians, not better about how you run a campaign, but better at serving, better at having an impact on the people that we care about. Thank you, Mickey. When the history books are written, when people look back on your time leading the Aspen Rodel program, it will be only superlatives, and I know that that's how all of us feel. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
I first met Mickey 17 years ago when I was in my first semester at graduate school. I knew I wanted to run for office, and frankly, I thought that the idea was probably unrealistic. What immediately struck me about Mickey was how encouraging he was to me and to other students to get involved in the arena. He was a great professor, forged a personal relationship with me as well as many other students, was on a first name basis with many of the students. We called him Mickey even then, which was not exactly common among Harvard professors. The fact that 17 years later we're still friends and he's played such an important role in my life through being a professor first and then Aspen Rodel, and then strongly encouraging me to run for office, even first tough campaigns for the state legislature and then later Congress. I know that I wouldn't be here without the encouragement and friendship of Mickey, and I think I speak for a lot when I say that. So Mickey, thank you for everything that you've done personally for me, for what you did for this institution in Congress, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Hello everybody, I'm Gina Raimondo, Governor of Rhode Island, and I was lucky enough to be in the Rodel program in 2011. I really wish I could be with you, but I'm traveling overseas for work, and I had to just take a minute to say thank you to Mickey. You're the best. I'll never forget the day you called me and invited me to be part of the program. I was thrilled. I learned so much in the program. I made friends that to this day I call frequently. And Mickey, I just have to tell you, you are the best that public service has to offer. You put your work above yourself, you put the country over party, and you've done everything that you can to bring two sides together to focus on results. So I feel lucky. I hope you feel great about your service. We had a lot of fun doing it, and I'll always be here for you. And I'll just say, now more than ever in America, This is what we need to keep our democracy strong. So thank you, Mickey, for your leadership, for your service, for your patriotism. We love you, and I hope to see you soon.
Hey, my friends, it's Attorney General Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I'm a Rodel alum, and I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I just want to tell you that the Rodel experience was so meaningful to me. It taught me that you can have bipartisan solutions, that people can come together and actually work on solving pressing problems, that we can actually form bonds that go through political campaigns and through political offices. It really mattered to me then and still matters to me today. I know that Mickey Edwards has been such a huge part of the success of Rodel, and we're going to miss Mickey. Mickey, I love reading what you write. I love hearing what you think, and you've made me a better public servant because of your work. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't be with you, and I wish the Rodel program continued success.
Mickey, I am so sad I can't be with you in person today, but I wanted to record a quick video to tell you how much I dearly love and admire you. Not only did you serve Congress admirably and honorably for 16 years from the great state of Oklahoma, you did what all of us achieved to do so well, to work across the aisle and form lasting bipartisan relationships. After Congress, you worked not just at Harvard, but also at Princeton. Apparently got tired of that and went to found the Aspen Rodel Leadership Program. I couldn't be more grateful that I was chosen to be in this program. Meeting you and learning from you over the last decade of my life has helped me so much on my own journey, and I'm grateful for every moment. Thank you, Mickey.
Greetings, Mickey, and to all my fellow Aspen Rodelians from the great city of Detroit. I'm sorry I can't join you. My job duties require that I be here as we get ready for the festival and holiday season, but I wanted to take this opportunity to say hello and thanks to Kat for allowing me to do it. Mickey, I want to thank you for all that you've done for our country as a congressman and in so many other ways, but more pointedly, for all the things that you've done for the Aspen Rodel program. You have affected hundreds of people across the country who in turn have impacted their communities and now the entire country through their service in Washington, D.C. It's an impact that will continue for decades and one that I'm very proud to be a part of. On a personal note, thank you for picking me for the Aspen Rodel program. I really appreciated the opportunity, but more importantly, our continued friendship. It means more to me than you can ever imagine. When people ask what was one of the best things I've ever done in my life, I always answer the Aspen Rodel program. My commitment to you, Mickey, is this. I'm going to continue to support the program with as much time and effort as is asked of me, and I'll certainly use all of the experience and skills that I learned as a fellow. Mickey, the best to you in your retirement, and I look forward to our continued friendship.
Hi everyone, first of all, a big thank you and warm greetings to fellow Rodel Fellows. I'm sorry I can't be with you because the reunion and so many of the events around the Rodel program are some of the most fulfilling and worthwhile things I've been involved with since I became an elected official. I am so thankful for the friendships, the relationships across the aisle and across the country that have been formed in a program that I think has only grown more and more important because of what's happened in this country in the years since it began. With all the fraying of our social fabric, with all the degradation of our political institutions, the chance to talk about big ideas with people from different perspectives has never been more important. And of course, so much of it reflects the vision and leadership of Mickey Edwards. So I want to congratulate you, Mickey. I want to thank you for everything that you did to bring us together. And I know that you will continue to be a leader and that your leadership will continue to reflect throughout this country through so many of the public servants that you've impacted, including me. I'm proud to know you and look forward to seeing you again before long.
Thank you, Pete.
One of the great joys at the Aspen Institute was working with Mickey Edwards. I'd like to say he was a total success because we hoped that when he started the Rodel Fellowship, it would end all partisanship and rancor in America, that it would bring people together to have leadership based on values. He didn't quite totally succeed in that, but he sure made a dent in the universe, made things better, and was an absolute joy to work with. Thank you, Mickey.
Hello, Mickey. Hello, everyone.
It's Mark Kelly and
Gabby Gibbert. I'm so sorry we couldn't be there this evening.
But Mickey, we wanted to honor you for your 15 years of service at the Aspen Institute. I know Gabby was So proud to be part of the first class of Rodel Fellows.
You are a great mentor and a dear friend.
And we want to wish you the best as you head back to Princeton. Thank you for everything you've done for the two of us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hi, Mickey. This is David Holt, of course, the mayor of Oklahoma City, more importantly, an Aspen Rodel alum. And I bear a very special greeting from your hometown in Oklahoma City. It's a proclamation on behalf of the people of Oklahoma City. Whereas Marvin Henry Edwards, known as Mickey, was born in Ohio and raised in the Capitol Hill area of Oklahoma City. And whereas Mickey graduated from the University of Oklahoma with his Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism in 1958 and earned his JD from OCU in 1969, subsequently being admitted to the Oklahoma bar. And whereas Mickey began his career as a newspaper editor and reporter, and whereas in 1976, Mickey was elected to the United States Congress, representing Oklahoma's 5th District right here in Oklahoma City for 16 years, serving as Oklahoma's first and only congressional elected official of Jewish descent. During his congressional tenure, Mickey served on the House Budget and Appropriations Committee and as the chairman of the House Republican Policy Committee. Whereas after his time in Congress, Mickey taught for 11 years at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government before moving to Princeton's Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs, also becoming a weekly political columnist for the Chicago Tribune and Los Angeles Times, and broadcasting as a weekly commentator on National Public Radio's All Things Considered. Whereas Mickey subsequently became vice president of the Aspen Institute, and he has directed the Rodel Fellowship Program, creating a national network of bipartisan leaders and helping them to become the best public servants they can possibly be. And whereas Mickey is a founding board member of the Constitution Project and has held active roles in the American Bar Association, the American Society of International Law, Brookings, and the Council on Foreign Relations. And whereas Mickey is a frequent speaker and commentator on American politics, traveling around the world providing insight into American democracy, as well as being the author of numerous books and articles. And whereas Mickey is now stepping away from one of his most beloved tasks, his stewardship of the Aspen Rodel Fellowship Program. And such a moment provides a most appropriate occasion for the people of Oklahoma City to express their appreciation to our son, Mickey, for his lifetime of public service to our nation. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim November 16, 2019 to be Mickey Edwards Day here in Oklahoma City. Thank you for your service to the city, the state, and the country, and welcome you.
Well, good evening. As elected officials, we are very much familiar with the gavel and the symbolism of the gavel. It's used in legislatures, it's used in courts of law, it's used in our local governments. We use it to mark the opening of assemblies, major events. We use it to sound, also utilized to adjourn important proceedings. But it's also utilized to restore order. And tonight we want to recognize a great man who in many ways has served as our presiding officer to an amazing organization, the Aspen Institute Rodel Fellowship of Public Leadership. Mickey, this huge gavel, Texas size. And I have to apologize, this is a subcommittee gavel. TSA wouldn't let me bring the committee gavel. But through this fellowship, you've reminded us that in time of need, like with the use of this gavel, we must call to order various levels of government. And we call our government's to order through understanding, through collaboration, through communication, through collegiality, friendship, and trust. And like this gavel, you're about to adjourn 15 years, passing on, as in our country's tradition, the gavel to the next session of leadership for our fellowship. So on behalf of the state of Texas and really all of us as fellows, it's an honor to present this gavel to you. On behalf of all of us, we are grateful, we love you, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You can also gavel down filibusters.
As Sooner always wanted this, you know, in front of the Texans.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Trying to get my head around Marvin.
I heard a lot of people laughing during the reading of the proclamation. Raise your hands if you've ever had to read one out loud. Okay. That's why you were laughing. Well, Mickey, I'm told that this is exactly kind of what you didn't want, to be praised all evening. But one of the speakers on the video mentioned that there were 320 fellows. With the ones who were on the video and the ones from the Texas delegation, by my count, there are only another 260 of these to go. So get comfortable. And let me bring to the stage the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Tom Pettis. And while he's making his way up here, you noticed from the video that several of the Rodel Fellows are running for president. I'm going to break a little confidence. The next 10 Democratic candidates who are about to join the race are also Rodel Fellows. So
All right. Thank you, Ray. It is such an honor to be here tonight with both Mickey and Elizabeth and so many remarkable friends. 2004, the phone rang one day, and it was an opportunity that transformed not only my life, but the lives of all of our folks in the first class. Can you raise your hand, first class? Here we are. You know, Mickey, you have hard, you know, this is hard shoes to fill, but I want to make sure you all know, Trey was part of our first class, and Trey's got game. And it's, you're going to do a great job. I know that. You know, and it's just such an honor that, you know, like my good friend Anthony Fox, we served in the cabinet. Anthony's going to be announcing his candidacy tomorrow for president because I had been privately expressing concern to Anthony about the dearth of the field, and so Anthony agreed to help out. You know, Mickey, I went to the funeral of a mentor and friend recently. His name's Elijah Cummings. And someone said something that bears repeating tonight because it's true about you as well. You talked about your mother, the story of the day you were sworn in to be a member of Congress. And from that day forward, anyone who sends you a letter and they want to be proper will address it the Honorable Mickey Edwards. Well, like Elijah Cummings, you were honorable long before you became the Honorable Mickey Edwards. You taught us so much, and you know, I've said to you privately, I've said to Bill privately, this was for me the most impactful professional development of my life. I was, you know, toiling in Montgomery County, Maryland, and the phone rings, and I thought you had the wrong number. And the things that you taught us, Mickey, were just so many, starting with the notion that it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. That's a lost art right now. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong about compassion and kindness. That's what my parents taught me. That's what my faith teaches me. That's what every faith teaches us. People without a faith tradition have that kindness and compassion. And you taught us that day in and day out. And we had so many ups and downs as a cohort. The biggest down being the day of the shooting with Gabby. And we all came together. There was never any doubt about it. You created a safe space, not only for us, but for every cohort. A space in which we could let down our guard and talk about what it means to be an American. You taught us that neither party has a monopoly on patriotism, notwithstanding what is sometimes said by folks from both ends of the spectrum. And you taught us that. And you continue to teach us that through your example. And what we became is we weren't Republicans, we weren't Democrats, we weren't independents, we were Rodells. And for that, Bill and Don, I am eternally grateful. And there have been so many tributes tonight to you, Mickey, and there are more to come. But I think the best tribute we can continue to give you, Mickey, is to live those values and to live them every single day in what we're doing. Because this really is a where were you moment in our journey. And I continue to believe that the most remarkable dependent clause in the history of the English language is that first dependent clause, we the people in order to form a more perfect union. The founders understood it to be imperfect at its founding. Ben Franklin was asked, have we created a republic or a monarchy? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. And we continue to have that conversation. We're at a real moral fork in the road. And as I was listening tonight, I couldn't help but reflect on a book that Walter Isaacson wrote. It came into me when I was listening to his remarkable words. He wrote a biography of Albert Einstein. And in that biography, he recounted letters that Einstein wrote to his son in the height of the McCarthy era, or the depths of the McCarthy era. And in those letters, his first letters, he said, what's going on with this country? How is it that we have spiraled out of control? And then you fast forward a couple of years, McCarthy has been censured and reduced to the dustbin of history. And he writes another letter to his son that Walter recounts in his biography. In that letter, he says, what a country! I love this country. And the word he uses, that it just sort of came to me as I was listening, it has this gyroscope. And just when you think that gyroscope is spinning out of control, it rights itself. So Don and Bill, I'm going to guess you never would have imagined when you created this program that you would be creating cohorts of leaders in a moment when it seems to so many people that gyroscope is spinning out of control. But I come to you with optimism. And I come to you on behalf of another classmate of ours in Class 1 who can't be here, Michael Steele, my friend. When I teach 4 or 5 days a semester at Brown, a course on leadership. And after my first semester there, I asked them to recruit Michael Steele because I was concerned that there wasn't enough diversity in the faculty. And Michael and I, and this was putting our Rodel values into action, we convened a meeting of the young Dems and the young Rs together. And regrettably, it was the first time they'd ever met together. But we're working on it. And those are how we have to live our values, because we got a lot of stuff going on. And I want to make sure you know what you taught me is, number one, I'll never be afraid to fail. Number two, I'll always remember the golden rule. Number three, history has its eyes on us. And so the question that we should always ask is, how are we going to explain in 40 years to our children or our grandchildren, why did we do this? Or frankly, the other question we might have to ask or answer to our grandchildren is, why didn't we do this? Because as Dr. King said, we will rue not only the horrific acts of bad people, but the appalling silence of others. And so we must always come together. And those are the things you've taught me. Somebody said to me, why is it that elected officials have to leave office in order to become statespeople? And I said, no, that's not the case. And that's the vision of Rodel, that we don't have to leave office to do the right thing. And so the main thing I'm going to walk away from this from, and whenever I left Aspen or wherever we were, I would always ask myself the question, what am I going to do differently and hopefully better after this? And so I'm going to remember the adage that you taught me and Marty Linsky taught me and Ron Heifetz taught me. Leadership is letting down your friends at a pace that they can absorb. I've been testing that theory for 2.5 years, and I'm going to continue to test that theory. But we must all, and I would implore you, the tributes are wonderful, but I think the best tribute we can give to Mickey is to continue to live those values and ask yourselves, and I will do the same, what can we do differently and better? How can we create a new paradigm? Because I truly believe that the gyroscopes are indeed in this room. And I hope you will continue to produce a next generation of gyroscopes, because we desperately need it. And what all these forks in the road and potholes in our history have in common is we were able to improve our societies. They came to an end. We came together. We developed that spirit of bipartisanship. We were able to form a more perfect union. And because of you, I feel as confident as ever that we'll be able to do it. So Mickey, thank you for what you're doing. I'll tell you, one of the most exciting thing tonight was being able to pay tribute to you. Equally exciting is to see Elizabeth and to see her in such good health. So thank you so much for leadership and everything you've done.
Please welcome Eric Paulson from Minnesota. Eric Paulson.
Real quick. I also remember the phone call I got from you, Mickey, back in 2004, and I was in my office at the state capitol. And I remember when you described the intent and the goals of the program, I was really excited. I really was. This is the thing for me, this makes sense. It was a brand new program. I have to admit, though, when I first received that reading list before our first get-together, I kind of wondered, what have I got myself into? But I quickly came to realize that in those settings, studying the founding principles of Western democracy and creating a good civil society, we were able to come together and bridge some differences with people in opposite parties. And I'm very thankful for the relationships that I made on both sides of the aisle in those sessions during my entire tenure that I had in Congress. And I can't express enough, Mickey, the gratitude and the appreciation and the admiration I have for your consistent commitment and leadership to Rodel and your belief in all of us. And I think of you as representing a statesman approach to governing that our country is so hungry for today. And the years that I spent in Rodel were certainly the highlights of my tenure in public service, and they inspired me. And I think it will please you to know that as you walk the meeting rooms in the hotel and poke your head on the observations of our discussions today and yesterday, you should feel very, very proud of being the father or the godfather of the Rodel program, and know that we will do you well in the future. Thank you.
Next, Professor Ginger Patterson from Georgetown University School of Law.
Okay, I've died and gone to heaven. Ray Suarez introduced me. I'm serious. You think I'm kidding?
If I had known you were going to say that, I would have done a little bit more.
Next time. Mickey called me 15 years ago. He had gotten my name from a colleague. I had been an Aspen Institute moderator for 8 years. And he was calling to tell me about this new program that had been generously funded by Bill Budinger. And he said, we're bringing together young politicians in groups of about 24, 12 Republicans, 12 Democrats, all known for working across the aisle. And the goal wasn't simply to introduce greater civility, but to go beyond that to bipartisan governance. Mickey was a passionate believer in the cause and wholly committed to the fellowship program. He invited me to play a part in that program, and I am so glad that I said yes. Because from the beginning, I have been captivated by the dedication, passion, intelligence, and candor of the participants, all of which are a testament to Mickey's ability to pick stellar groups of people to participate in this program. Rodel appealed to me in 2005 and up to this very day, because in a time of increasing rancor, it doggedly holds to the belief that there are people in and entering into politics who seek to work together for the good of their constituents and the country as a whole. And this belief was expressed in a cosmic sense by my favorite playwright, Lorraine Hansberry, who wrote Raisin in the Sun. And if you will indulge me, I want to read you words that always come to my mind when I think of the Rodel Fellowship Program. She was talking to someone she described as a young New York intellectual who was bemoaning the state of humankind and saying, we're not even worth saving. She says, I have lost friends and relatives through cancer, lynching, and war. I have been personally the victim of physical attack, which was the offspring of racial and political hysteria. I have worked with the handicapped and seen the ravages of congenital diseases that we have not yet conquered because we spend our time and ingenuity in far less purposeful pursuits. I say all of this to say that one cannot live with sighted eyes and feeling heart and not know and react to the miseries which afflict this world. I have given you this account so that you know that what I write is not based on the assumption of idyllic possibilities or innocent assessments of the true nature of life, but rather my own personal view that posing one against the other, I think that the human race does command its own destiny, and that that destiny can eventually embrace the stars. Partisan rancor, polarism, Mickey Edwards says, go for the stars.
Thanks, Professor. Next, we're joined by Larion Gaylor Baird, Mayor of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, keeping with the theme of the call, do you all remember where you were when you first got that call from Mickey? I was pulling into a parking spot in downtown Lincoln, and when my cell phone rang, and the man's voice on the other end of the line sounded slightly southern and absolutely giddy with a delight as he invited me to join the Aspen Rodel program. And I sat there in the driver's seat and tried to sort out what exactly that meant. And I was a little taken back as he let me know he'd done his homework and that he probably knew more about me than my parents. And I wasn't sure if I should be freaked out by that or really flattered that he still decided to invite me. But as we continued to talk, I felt myself drawn in. And maybe what drew me in is what drew you in too. Not only the delightful charm of this gentleman from Oklahoma, but also something else, this sense of optimism. It was almost jumping out of my iPhone. And that optimism about the amazing things that can happen when Republicans and Democrats gather together to read Aristotle or ride snowcat up a steep mountainside. The Aspen Rodel Fellowship seemed like an intrepid exercise in hope. It still does. Mickey built the Aspen Rodel Fellowship, but what he really was building was hope. Hope that comes from relationships that are the antidote to partisanship. The richest impact I received from the Rodel experience is an inspired optimism during a time of pretty dark political life. And I'm rooting for my Rodel people all across the country, the Democrats and the Republicans, as they seek higher office. I believe in them and in the good work they do and that they will do for our nation. It's easy to feel hopeful for our country when I look out at the people in this room. And I speak for all of us in this room, Mickey, when I want to say thank you. Thank you for that first call, which was really a call to our highest values and our best selves. And while we feel so sad to see you exit stage right, or is it stage left? It doesn't matter at Rodel. We will keep in mind the final lines of Shakespeare's Sonnet 30, which says, "But if the while I think on thee, dear friend, all losses are restored and sorrows end." Thank you, Mickey.
Thanks, Mayor. Next, we're joined by the Governor of the State of Arizona, member of the class of 2012, Doug Ducey.
Well, due to Don and Bill Buttinger and where they like to spend much of their time, the state of Arizona, along with Gabby Giffords, has always had a very special relationship with the Aspen Rodel Foundation. Mickey, I remember where I was when you gave me the call because so many people had preceded me, and I thought, isn't this the foundation that Don Buttinger sponsors? I don't think he likes me very much. He's always challenging me that there's another side to what I'm advocating for. So it is a real privilege to be here tonight to celebrate a very special man in our nation's capital. And so much of what happens in this capital, I believe, would embarrass the man who wrote Washington's farewell address. And you can't go anywhere in public life in the state of Arizona without running into someone who's been part of Aspen Rodel. And immediately, the same cone of silence, the same let's speak truth to what the situation is invoked. And we often reflect on what makes this program so special. And the readings have been invoked several times tonight, and I would say it is more than just the readings. It's the conversation and discussion after the readings to see that some interpret the Declaration or Constitution or Aristotle differently than how you do. And it gives you warm-heartedness when you head back out into the public square. And then the other thing that is so incredibly special about this program is Aspen itself, the setting, the facilities, the solitude, and the peace that allows the fellowship and the breaking of bread and friendships to blossom. But most importantly, what it is the people that have been selected, and they're selected from a recommendation and a resume. So someone digs deeper. And the people that are most impressive as they are not the people that are lining the debate stages of our country or leading the great parties. I think they are the people that are no longer in public life, but remain in the public square and return to Rodel forevermore. So tonight we celebrate the man and the person and the friend that selects those people. I am envious of the kids at Princeton that will have Mickey Edwards, and I pity his successor, Trey Grayson. Don't screw it up. So tonight, let's raise a glass and toast our friend, Mickey Edwards. To Mickey.
Thanks, Governor. Next, we're joined by the Mayor of Denver, Colorado, member of the class of 2014, Michael Hancock.
So I'm a little pissed. I'm bewildered and stunned. Tonight is the first time I learned that everybody received that call. I'm sitting here really heartbroken, folks. This has been a revelation for me. We have seen council members become county commissioners become mayors, mayors become governors, and governors become presidential candidates or presidents. We've seen mayors yearn to become presidents. Who else can take a mayor from a city of 110,000 people who's never received more than 11,000 votes to become a leading candidate for the prime nomination for the Democratic Party? But Mickey Edwards! We've heard a lot of great tributes tonight for Mickey. And though I was hurt to learn that I was not the only one to receive the call for Rodell or even for this reunion, tonight I'm honored to travel all the way from Denver to celebrate Mickey Edwards, because I believe a couple things, and I'll leave you with this, because Kat told me 2 minutes and get your ass off the stadium. I believe the greatest gift that we can leave human beings in service is the gift of legacy, or the legacy of human resources. When we invest in people, that's our greatest legacy. It won't be the house we own or the car we drove, or Mickey, the amount of money we have in our bank accounts. It will be really investment and the difference we made in the life of another human being. And the reality is tonight that all of us, as we look through that yearbook and we look across this national landscape, can see evidence in every state of your branches, Mickey. And to me, that's a powerful, most powerful statement we can make about you or any of us in this room. Dr. King told us that every one of us in this room can be great because we can serve. The Bible teaches us in Matthew 7 that you will know them by the fruits that they bear. And I'm honored to be part of your tree. And I can only hope and pray that I represent the values and legacy that you gave all of us. The dead philosophers you made us read. The freezing weather in Aspen, Colorado. But we are grateful to you for the gift that you gave us, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a branch on your tree. You will know us by the fruit that we bear. And Mickey, that means you're great. God bless you, and thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Next, we're joined by council member from Cincinnati, Ohio, Amy Murray of the class of 2017.
Good evening. So, the class of 17, we never want to come somewhere without bringing a gift. So we have a gift for you tonight, Mickey. And it is funny when Mike Hancock said that he felt special and that he was one that got the call. I always felt like Mickey is kind of like a parent or a dad where you always feel like you're the most special, your class is the most special. You know, we have that special relationship, and then you realize he has that unique ability to make everyone feel that special, which is so unique. So Mickey has taken so much time with all of us through that first call and the first class and done everything he can to make us feel ready for our journey and to learn as much as we can through the Rodel class. And I kept thinking of all the things that Mickey taught us, and I'm a visual person, and I thought I just wanted to reflect on the things that he always told us to get the most out of the classes. And so I brought a little gift for Mickey and for Trey, because I have some of the things that Mickey talked to us about. And so I have a gift pack for you and a gift pack for Mickey, and I call these Mickey Edwards Aspen Rodelisms. So if we're going to start, and I'm going to need my glasses for this one, sorry. So Mickey, this one might not be as exciting, but in your gift pack, you have a sponge that represents us to soak up all the knowledge that we learned from all those dead philosophers. So you have your sponge. Number 2 is we will have some Starburst. Now, this could be to give you energy during the middle of the day. Now, I know our class, there were some people that needed the energy because they were out very late at night. But so we have Starburst in here for after you've spent the whole day. Number 3, a Snickers bar to keep us laughing during all the classes and during all the times that we share in the ups and downs with our class. Number 4, Mickey always taught us this, reminding us to be flexible. And it's a rubber band to remind us to be flexible. Number 5, tape. Mickey was so great in bringing it all together and taping it all together and wrapping it up all in the class. So we have some tape. Number 6. So this one's kind of fun. This is extra gum for all the times that Mickey had to get us out of the extra sticky situations that the class might have in their discussions. Number 7 is Post-it notes, because you use these to keep the communications flowing all the time. Next one, we're almost done here, is 8 is a Tootsie Roll to help you with all of the punches, to help you get yourself back up after the punches. And number 9, a Band-Aid for when things got a little rough, which they do happen to get rough in all of the classes. Number 10, so Trey, this one's really important for you. So I don't know if this happened to the other classes, but when we were in New Orleans, we seemed to have a water issue, meaning we couldn't drink the water the entire time we were there. And so there's a water boil alert, so some bottled water. So you want to make sure that you have that. Number 10, so we have I have a 3D printer at home, so I made you a little donkey and a little elephant. And sorry, the donkey lost his back legs, sorry. That wasn't meant, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I did the best I could. I am sorry. And then, as all of us know, we couldn't have in Trey, this is really, really important. So when we have all of these classes, important things, and this is something that Mickey and I love, is you have to have good chocolate at every class, and you have some wine at every class, both before, during, and after. So Mickey, thank you so much. You've been such a blessing to us all. Trey, we look forward to you starting, and I hope you enjoy just this little gift pack of fun things as you begin your journey, and Mickey, to remember us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Next, we'll hear from the former Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives and member of the class of 2009, Joe Straus.
Thank you, Ray and Kat. By my closest calculation, if we keep this to 2 minutes apiece, we only have about 9 more hours to go tonight. Good evening. My name is Joe Straus. I'm the former Speaker of the House of Representatives in Texas, and more importantly, a proud member of the class of 2009. Now, Mickey and I were destined to become friends. I mean, after all, we're members of a rather exclusive club. How many Jewish Republicans do you know who've been elected to public office in the southwestern United States? Although Mickey's from Oklahoma, we consider him something of a northerner. It's said that the Rodel Fellowship is for emerging political leaders with reputations for intellect, thoughtfulness, and a commitment to civil dialogue. So as you can imagine, coming from the Texas legislature, this group was quite a change for me. The Rodell Fellowship was a great experience for me and for everyone in this room and those who aren't even here tonight, because it gave us a chance to learn from some of the greatest intellectuals and scholars in the United States. But the best part about it was it allowed us to learn from Mickey Edwards himself. For decades and from a variety of platforms, Mickey has provided a voice in our national dialogue that is principled, always thoughtful, and universally respected. He has shown elected officials how to be statesmen. Now, maybe we haven't always done the right thing, but anyone who has ever spent time with Mickey Edwards certainly knows what the right thing looks like. And just like his fellow Oklahoman, Will Rogers, Mickey has never met a man he didn't like, or woman, and I don't know any people who don't like Mickey Edwards. So Mickey, to me and all of us, you are a role model, a teacher, a leader, and a friend. Thank you for your incredible and outstanding leadership these 15 years. Your impact and your example will resonate across this entire country for many years to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Our next speaker is David Langstaff, Executive Vice President of the Leadership Division of the Aspen Institute. David.
Well, the good news is I am the halfway point. You've made it this far. So, everything's been said. So I just want to make 3 simple points. What comes across and hits me about the comments that you all make is a reminder of what service means. And service is different from ego. And as I think about what Don and Bill have done in starting Rodell with Mickey, you were 68 when this began. At a time when a lot of people are talking about going to the golf course and just checking out, was the time that all of you, stepped up and started something extraordinary. And it reminds me that one of the really important elements of leadership is, in fact, service. And thank you for that, Mickey. The second thing I just want to touch on, many of you, I'm sure, know the Harvard study that tracked, I think, quite a few people, hundreds of people over a life, and asked them when they got toward the end of their lives, what was it all about? What mattered? And the answer was beauty and relationships. And the beauty could be as simple as a sunset or sunrise, a flower, piece of music, piece of art, or relationships themselves. And the thing about the Rodell Fellowship, and I think what you've created here, are connections that are horizontal that you all talk about, which I find as one gets older, and I would think for you as elected officials, it happens even more, where it's harder and harder to make real friendships. You've always got to wonder how people are trying to come at you, how they're trying to play you and such. But what Rodell does and what our Aspen Fellowships do is create connections and relationships in what is an increasingly transactional world. And I think that is something that shouldn't be ignored. And so my last thought, and I say this as a person who's not an elected official, the best years for Rodell are ahead. So we thank you for what you've built. But that just gets us to the starting point. And frankly, what we need now, what everybody wants, is for the Rodel Fellows to model the kind of civil discourse that drives the world forward and which democracy depends. So your best days have to be ahead, and model it for all of us, because frankly, it doesn't take very many people to lead. And the number of Rodel Fellows that we have now, you're not alone. And so now we need to see you lead, and we need to see you act together and show the rest of us and the country what democracy is about. And I have nothing but respect, Mickey, for what you have done, and thanks Don and Bill and Kat and the whole team. It's important, and it's something which I think the Aspen Institute is as proud of as anything the Institute does, so thank you.
David mentioned that the good news was that he was the halfway point. The bad news is he wasn't kidding. Next, Marty Linsky joins us, co-founder of Cambridge Leadership Associates.
I think I was brought up here on a subterfuge. When Kat called me and said 2 minutes, I know she said, "You've got 2 minutes to roast him." And now I wonder whether I was supposed to toast him. But so I prepared a roast, and which feels remarkably inappropriate. Except for the role that Mickey asked me to play in the Institute. So here I go, being the shitbum again. Yeah. At my age, you begin to think a lot about your journey. And so when Kat asked me to spend no more than 2 minutes roasting Mickey, I began to think about his journey. And I went to Wikipedia and kind of did some research and tried to understand. And as the more that I looked at his journey, I realized that my journey was kind of a pathetic knockoff of his journey. One way of understanding my life, I'm spending a lot of time now trying to understand my life as I'm getting to the end. One of the ways of understanding my life is that I've been trying to catch up to Mickey for most of that time. He was born in 1937. I was born in 1940. I was already 3 years behind. He changed his name from Marvin to Mickey way before I changed my name from Martin to Marty, right? He got facial hair way before I did, right? He was a journalist before I was. I only got divorced once, I cleared that one with Lizzie beforehand. He wrote 3 books. He wrote 5 books. I only wrote 3 books. I've been spending my whole life. Now, the one thing I did before Mickey was I got to the Kennedy School and secured, commenting on Joe's point, secured the one place at the Kennedy School for a short, old, Jewish, broken down politician, right? Republican, right? There's only one spot at the Kennedy School for that. If that, right? And so I was there enjoying this role, right? This one spot that was reserved. And then this guy comes and blows me away, right? He comes, I'd been there for several years. I had finally done something before he did. And then he comes, and 2 years later, he's the teacher of the year. And nobody remembers that there's this other little old Republican has-been politician hanging around. So I think to compensate for that, Mickey privileged me by asking me to participate in this program in the original first year. I believe deeply in politics as a way of dealing with complex public problems. Mickey has been an inspiration to me in my dotage, the way he has been to you. He's given me the opportunity to restore my optimism and hope because he's given me the opportunity to engage with you. Mickey, I love you very much, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Marty Linsky. Next, we're joined by the mayor of Oakland, California, from the class of 2015, Libby Schaaf.
Chairman Perez, I'm actually at this California Democratic Convention. This is just a hologram, okay? You know, I have to be honest, Mickey, when I got that call, you creeped me out. When you said that you knew more about me than my mother, I thought about all the things I had done in high school that had gotten me grounded, and then I concluded that clearly you did not know as much about me as my mother. I was excited to do this nonpartisan thing. In Oakland, mayor is a nonpartisan office. I am considered a progressive Democrat. In fact, probably to some of you, I'm a crazy radical. But I was the only member of my immediate family that was not a Republican. In fact, I always say that mayors don't have time for partisan gridlock, that we all belong to just one party, and that is the party of get shit done, right? And yet, it was amazing to be part of this program. And the class of 15, our last meeting as a class was literally days after Donald Trump had been elected president. So we were all a little disoriented, I'll just be honest. And I remember that you allowed us to push aside the readings one day because the Me Too movement had erupted, and there was so much that we needed to talk about. And you allowed space, particularly for the women in our class, to share and talk, and it was such a gift. Now, being the mayor of Oakland, California, under President Trump is really challenging. If you know anything about Oakland, we are like crazy. Like in Oakland, I'm considered a moderate. And as I felt very challenged in this kind of hypercharged, non-civil political discourse that I found myself in, I kind of imagined I had like this invisible bracelet, you know, what would Mickey do? And so you had gone from creepy to Christ-like, you know, in just 2 years. And I found myself, I found myself actually, I made a decision that turned out to be somewhat controversial of warning my community about a major immigration raid. And it actually attracted the attention of the president, who commanded the attorney general to charge me with obstruction of justice. I had protesters with lock her up signs. It was really quite an adventure. And, you know, as we all have had these moments, you get criticism, you get praise, and some of them surprise you. One was George Shultz, who was the Secretary of State under Reagan, told me he thought I did the right thing. And then my other favorite surprise was an email from a Republican congressman from Oklahoma that said that every step of the way I had done the right thing and that he was proud. And that meant the world to me. I don't know how you make each and every one of us feel like I was your favorite. Wasn't I your favorite? I know we all have that feeling. And so to obey my 2-minute rule from Kat, and boy, was she fierce when she told us that, I was trying to think, how can I sum up just really, really quickly what you taught me, what you taught us. And so if you would indulge me, this involves a little bit of audience participation. Could you all stand up? Mickey, you taught us to stand up for our values, to stand up for what we believe in, to not be afraid, to stand up for what brought us to public service. And could you all reach out? You taught us to reach out, to reach across the aisle, to reach out, to learn more, to continue to question and quest for knowledge, to reach out, to not stop reaching. And look at us. We can do both of these things at the same time. We can and we must. And that is what Mickey taught us. Thank you, Mickey, so much.
Thanks, Mayor. Next, we're joined by Dan Branch from the class of 2008, former state representative in the Texas House.
Thank you, Ray. It kind of feels like, what's the old line, Mickey, about Elizabeth Taylor's last husband? You know what needs to be done. It's just the question how to make it interesting. It's on the wedding night. Mayor Hancock, I appreciate the talk about branches and fruit. In our house, that's an important element for all of the Branch family, and I do feel like I'm a branch on the Edwards tree. You see, so in '76, I was told to go to the family school across the Red River. At being a good Texan, it's not good to go to Oklahoma generally. And there happened to be in my freshman year a guy named Edwards who was running for Congress. I think he was the head of Apple, or Steve Jobs. He had an apple with a bite in it because he was going to take a bite out of the federal government. And so I was a volunteer, unbeknownst to Mickey. Fast forward to 2008, and I thought I was the only one who got the sort of creepy line that I know more about you than your parents. So I figured everyone got a call, Mike, but I didn't realize that line would be taken by so many of you. It wasn't an iPhone. Where's the mayor of Lincoln? I was on a hard line. I'm an earlier class, and but I do know where I was seated, and I was pretty excited to get the call. And sort of the two things I remember was we know you don't have sharp elbows, and we know whoever we is, we've done their due diligence. We know you can reach across the aisle, and I think for me really my value is encouraging you to pick people like Joe Strauss and Eric Johnson and Cesar and Miguel and others from Texas that are really have added fruit to this tree. But I'd say the 2 points, what I remember from that call, sharp elbows and reaching across the aisle. And for me, reaching across the aisle is about compromise. And I sort of grew up in the last decade in a state where all of a sudden this element of the far right of our party was saying that compromise for some reason was wrong, and they were claiming to be constitutionalists and claiming compromise was wrong. I've got an op-ed I never placed about that subject, and so to me compromise is embedded in our Constitution for all kinds of reasons. It's also pragmatic. A guy they like to quote a lot, Reagan, who Joe worked for, you served with, I worked for. He saw it as not only principled and the constitutional, but pragmatic. And remember, he was a Screen Actors Guild president and learned about negotiating. And he said at some point, if you get 75 or 80% of what you're asking for, I say you take it and you fight for the rest later. And that's what I told the radical conservatives who never got used to it. I tweeted that once, and it was the far right who said, see, if he'll quote that line from Reagan, that shows you what type of person he is. Pretty amazing, but as Joe said, in Texas, the extremes are everything's bigger in Texas. But we had another Texan that, when we talk about sharp elbows, who I thought got it right. Just a few years ago, we had a tragedy in Dallas. We lost some policemen.
Eric was there in the moment, and President Obama came in, and our former president, who's a good friend of our family and I worked really hard for when he first was running for governor. I thought he got it right because he stood arm in arm, and this was before Altoids were being passed between him and the former First Lady. But he stood there with President Obama, and he said, "Too often we judge other groups by their worst examples while judging ourselves by our best intentions." And to me, that's a pretty good example of why we don't need to have sharp elbows. And so, Mickey, one of my favorite quotes was from TR about aggressive fighting for the right is the noblest sport the world affords. Well, you're a noble sportsman, and you've taught us that it's history over hysteria. You've taught us to exercise judgment before judging. You've taught us to choose civility instead of rancor, humility over hubris, intellectual honesty over spin, to choose to be principled without being polarizing, to aspire to statesmanship over partisanship, and ultimately, whether it's mercy over mean-spiritedness or unity over division, I think in the end, you've taught us to always place country above party. So thanks for those lessons and memories, Mickey. We love you and appreciate you.
Joining us next, the Secretary of State of the State of Washington, member of the class of 2013, Kim Wyman.
I'm just excited people are still in the room. When I got the call, my husband pointed out that he looked it up online and said, "You can't be in Aspen." I'm like, "Why? You're too old." I was 51, so thank you for breaking the rule a little bit there, Mickey. So the class of 2013 had an amazing, I'm going to get choked up. I'm a weeper. They already know this, I'm pretty sure. But we had an event when sorry, yep, I know. When we were in New Orleans, that typifies what Aspen Rodell program is about. We came in on Sunday morning, and it was announced that Mickey had been assaulted and had his wallet stolen. Now, as you can imagine, as I'm sure all of your classes were the same, we were a little cranked up, and we were all ready to quit class and go out and find the guy and beat him up ourselves. And then Mickey, came in and was sharing the story with us, and we said, well, clearly, we're never, ever going to come back to New Orleans as a Rodell program. And he said, absolutely not. And then one of the best teachable moments I've ever experienced was we started talking about it, and Mickey said, literally as he's got just a bruised face, he's telling us to not worry about it because he kicked the guy's ass. But what was so amazing about that moment is he knew, and what my takeaway was from it, and I think my class's takeaway was, is he knew we would face really tough moments, really big challenges. And there were going to be times where we would find ourselves in an unexpected battle. And we'd have to take a stand, we'd have to fight back, we'd have to fight back hard, give it our all, but be ethical in that fight. And when it was done, and I can look back on things, my campaign in 2016, I can look back on being on the front page of the paper for a couple of weeks over something really difficult. And I can think back on that moment. I can think back on what I learned that day from Mickey. And it was about get over it. Move on, forgive. Don't harbor ill will, because someday you may have to work with those people to get something done. And it was Mickey's grace and wisdom in that really difficult moment that really inspired all of us. And one of the things that one of my official responsibilities as Secretary of State is I oversee the state seal. And so I have a challenge coin. Those of you who are in the military know what that is. So my challenge coin on the front has the Washington State seal, and on the back it has core values. And these are all about you, Mickey. Integrity, service excellence, visionary leadership, and collaboration. And I just thank you so much for what you shared with us. This is your legacy. And it is an amazing legacy, and you have made a huge difference. Thank you.
Joining us next, the former mayor of Fresno, California, member of the class of 2011, Ashley Swearingen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really honored to be able to share my 2 minutes, so thank you. And I know it's been a special night already, and I'm glad just to add a little bit of my voice. Although I don't represent the entire class of 2011, so they may have different points of view on this. But in thinking about Mickey Edwards and the legacy of the Rodel Fellowship, there are some reflections that come to mind in no particular order. They are Emily Kane, Sheila Simon, Brian Calley, the Sing-Along, At the Restaurant, and Pam Bondi and Will Weatherford square dancing together. Number 1, Aspen memory. Number 2, Steve Benjamin, mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, talking about how his constituents, he thought about their souls and he represented their souls, and being challenged by our moderator and him pushing back and saying, no, I am thinking about the souls of the people who live in my city. Number 3, having conversations about racial justice and reconciliation with Anthony Fox in our class. Number 4, seeing Gavin Newsom's hair messed up. And it's beautiful messed up. It's beautiful. It's perfect messed up. It's perfect when it's slicked back. Okay. Number 5, Mickey Edwards, the most warm, conciliatory, encouraging person. There are 2 words that can change this man's composition in a second. And learning what those 2 words are, and I will share them with you if you don't know, it is these 2 words, Newt Gingrich. Number 6, and my last one, driving 4 hours to Denver because something happened at the Aspen airport and we couldn't get out and we were all anxious to get home after a weekend seminar. Riding in a people mover that did not have any heat in the middle of winter from Aspen to Denver, and somehow luckily being selected to sit on top of the wheel well, with my knees in my chest, but sitting next to Becky Lockhart and talking about her and encouraging her to run for mayor of Provo, which she was never able to do because she passed away 2 years later. I remember those things, and I think about who was it that brought us together to experience those things and many other hundreds of things that I couldn't possibly recount. It was Mickey. Who was it that had the foresight to see the importance of bipartisan fellowship that was dedicated to the study of the principles of Western democracy 15 years ago? It was Mickey Edwards. Imagine trying to start this program today and put the roots into the ground today. It wouldn't have worked, but 15 years ago, he had the foresight to do that. Who was it that decided to spend 15 of his productive, active professional years equipping and mentoring other people in their leadership journey? It was Mickey Edwards. So I have the privilege of today working in the philanthropy world and run the Community Foundation in Central California. And there's a lot of talk about the Billionaires Challenge. And there's a lot of fuss that is being made about these really, really rich gazillionaires who are committed to giving away half their fortunes before they pass. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think it's neat that Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and others are doing this. But when I think about a person who has given his all and who has imparted all that he has to offer to all of us and to then all of the constituents that we represent, I think there should be a special challenge that is the Mickey Edwards Challenge. And I just want to thank you, Mickey, for imparting to us all that you have in your every ounce of the last 15 years, scattering those seeds. In doing so, you have elevated us. You have elevated our communities, our state, and you've elevated our nation. Thank you. God bless you.
MCs, moderators, conveners of various kinds. It's a rule that Washington dinners have to end by 9 o'clock. And I just want to reassure you that in Fresno, where Ms. Swearingen was mayor, we will finish before 9 o'clock. The former Speaker of the Oklahoma House is next, from the class of 2014, Jeff Hickman.
I'm impressed the class of 2014 stayed awake this long. And I'm also impressed to see the classes working. I mean, this whole program working so well, Mickey, by the number of Californians that are here skipping their Democrat convention. It's definitely a testament that the program is working. I am a member of the class of 14. We only have one classmate running for president. And those of us who are the Republicans in the class have enacted the cone of silence that we will not tell anyone that we like Mayor Pete until after the primary. So we have learned something. Unlike the other Oklahoman you heard from tonight, I do not have a proclamation to read. But I do want to tell you briefly one thing that hasn't been said about Mickey's story that could have been different. When he left Congress, we could have hired him at the University of Oklahoma, but he had a JD, not a PhD. And so he had to go find work wherever he could, even if it meant going to Harvard. And now that I am a state regent, Mickey, you now know people, and I can probably get you in if things don't work out at Princeton. I was 3 years old when a guy by the name of Mickey Edwards was elected as Oklahoma's only Republican in the U.S. House. He would be the only Republican in the House from Oklahoma for most of my childhood and was someone I paid close attention to as my interest in government and public service developed and as I formulated my political philosophy as a young Republican growing up in what was then a very democratic Oklahoma. Did I mention I was 3 when Mickey was first elected? Maybe it's more politically correct to say I was a 19-year-old college freshman when Mickey left office. And like Mickey, I received a journalism degree from the University of Oklahoma and worked in higher education for 7 years before I was elected to the Oklahoma House in 2004. So fast forward to, and obviously tonight, this is a great time to fast forward. Fast forward to just a few days after I was elected Speaker of the Oklahoma House, and I received a phone call from Congressman Edwards asking me to join the Aspen-Rodell family. I was still trying to figure out where the light switches were in the Speaker's office. I was dealing with a budget shortfall. I was managing a caucus that had just gone through an unexpected resignation of a Speaker and election of a new one 2 weeks into the legislative session. The last thing that I thought I had time to do was join some national group I knew little about to read things I was supposed to read in college and probably hadn't. Fortunately for me, it was someone I had great admiration for, Congressman Mickey Edwards, who was asking, and I had a chief of staff who saw the potential in this Rodell experience and encouraged me to accept. Mickey, your creation changed my life. Your creation changed the lives of all of us who are now part of this family. And it changed the lives of millions of people across the country who have benefited from thoughtful leadership from Rodells at all levels of government in both parties. As a result of your vision for what this fellowship could be, I have friendships, I have relationships, I have experiences I could call upon to help me work through challenging situations, share successes, understanding when things didn't go as we hoped, and not just political things, our families, and so many other highs and lows. My only regret is that I would have had this experience to call upon earlier in my legislative career, but then I might have ended up in the same class with the mayor of Oklahoma City or someone like that. And I'm really sorry, but I love the class of 2014 so much more. So I guess when it comes to being part of Mickey's Rodell family, I have no regrets at all. After this weekend, the work continues, and our pledge to you, Mickey, tonight, because none of us can ever repay you for what you have given us. Our pledge is that we will fan the fire that you started burning, and we will be another part of your legacy. But beyond these past 15 years that our friends are reflecting on tonight, on behalf of my fellow Oklahoma Rodells who are here this evening, Senate Pro Tem and Secretary of State Glenn Coffey and Corporation Commissioner Jeff Cloud, class of 06 and 07. But on behalf of all of us in your home state of Oklahoma, thank you for your service representing our state of Oklahoma for 16 years in Congress. But Oklahoma is even more proud of your work since. The work of one of our own, engaging in some of the most important work for the future of our country. I will end there because, Mickey, I am pretty certain, although I wasn't watching, but I think your Oklahoma Sooners at the last second just defeated the Baylor Bears. Thank you, Mickey. We love you in Oklahoma, and we love you from Rodale. Boomer Sooner!
Next, from the class of 2006, the former Attorney General of Illinois, Lisa Madigan.
Well, like many of you, one afternoon my phone rang, and my assistant came in and told me that Mickey Edwards was on the line to talk to me. And my response was, Mickey Edwards? Do I know a Mickey Edwards? So I got on the computer and I Googled him, and I learned that Mickey Edwards was a former congressman from the state of Oklahoma, a Republican who had been in leadership. And I thought to myself, what does this guy want with me? But obviously I took the call anyway. And I took it out of curiosity. And mainly because serving during the reign of terror of Rod Blagojevich, I really needed a laugh. So Mickey told me that he was now head of the Rodale Fellows, an Aspen Institute program for public leadership, and I had been selected by a secret group to participate. I guess I got a different story than the rest of you. By the way, the names of those people have never been revealed to me, but I still want to thank them. Because as many of you have said, and as all of us know, being a Rodale Fellow was absolutely the most important and the most influential public service leadership program I participated in during my 20 years in elected office. And that is because of the dedication of Mickey Edwards. There is no question that you, my fellow fellows, the moderators, the seminars, and the food was very impressive and intriguing. But Mickey embodied the mission of Bill Buddinger's vision for the program. Mickey's example was critical to the success of the Rodale Fellowship. Through his leadership, Mickey showed all of us what it means to be a true public servant. It comes from your heart and permeates all of your work and interactions with people. We saw how Mickey is interested and engaged with absolutely everyone. We saw how he reached across the aisle effortlessly. He understood and he appreciated our differences. He showed us, along with Marty, that leadership is not comfortable or easy, but that we were up to the task. He demonstrated we could overcome adversity and be stronger. He pushed us to challenge the status quo and transform our governments. He told us that we had the power to effect change. And Mickey, you were right. Mickey served as our teacher, our mentor, our leader and friend, asking sincere questions, providing thoughtful advice, and giving us his wholehearted support. Mickey gave us his best and challenged us to be our best. Mickey, we cannot thank you enough for believing in and investing in all of us in the improvement of our communities and our country. Thank you for being the heart and soul of the Rodale Fellowship Program.
No Rodale Fellows actually graduate. You're always Rodales, but most of you get this in about 2 years. Maybe it took you 15. For outstanding leadership in American politics. Way to go, Mickey.
This woman is so awesome.
We do have a little music from those folks that were referred to earlier.
Are we the last ones? Ken, are we the last?
Yes.
We're actually the last ones.
You want to see this out?
Yeah. You know, Illyrian Brian Cronin is in our class of 2011. The amazing Sheila Simon. I'm Emily Kane from Maine. Anthony Fox. We had 2 songs. We're only going to do one because it's late. We ask you to sing along. This is the one called Aspen Roads. Words by the amazing banjo plucking Sheila Simon. Please join us. Mickey Edwards, Oklahoma, gerrymandered, got out his diploma. Now Professor Mickey casts a spell. Join a great discussion, study at Rodell. Aspen Roads, Mickey knows where we all get along. Let it right now, we don't fight now. Mickey knows Aspen Roads. All the readings like a novel, ancient Greek guys up to my club hovel. Mickey leads us, getting us to see. Gotta love our freedom, love democracy. Aspen Roads, Mickey knows where we all get along. Let it right now, we don't fight now. Mickey knows Aspen Roads. I hear his voice in the morning as he calls me. The weekend here is nothing like my home far away. But driving down the road I feel bipartisan, and yes, I think I'm here to stay, here to stay. Aspen Roads, Mickey knows where we all get along. Let it right now, we don't fight now. Mickey knows Aspen Roads. One more time. Aspen Roads, Mickey knows where we all get along. Left and right now, we don't fight now. Mickey knows.